The news was a whisper at first, a single, cryptic post from a celebrity news account. It was a blurry photo of a black van, its doors ajar, at the emergency entrance of a private hospital in Beijing. The accompanying text was simple and terrifying: emergency. Unnamed celebrity. Arrived in an unmarked vehicle. The internet, a place of both fierce love and vicious speculation, knew instantly who it was. The van was Xiao Zhan's. The public, still healing from the trauma of WangYibo's secret neurological disorder, was plunged into a new, profound state of panic. The fear was a tidal wave, made more terrifying by their recent experience. The fans' collective anxiety was palpable, and within minutes, the rumor that would consume their world began to spread. The emergency wasn't a random accident. It was the result of a silent, selfless love. Their theory was heartbreakingly simple. The emotional and physical toll of nursing Yibo back to health, the sleepless nights, the quiet fear, had finally broken Zhan. His body, they reasoned, had given out from the sheer weight of carrying a love so deep. The headlines, ever hungry for a tragedy, screamed, "The fans' fear. What was the real reason for Xiao Zhan's emergency? Did his love for Yibo put his life at risk?" Yibo, who had been in the middle of a film shoot, heard the news in the most horrifying way possible. His manager's face, usually a mask of professional calm, was pale with panic. "Yibo, it's Zhan. He's been rushed to the hospital." Yibo didn't wait to hear the rest. He ran. He ran through the set, past 100 bewildered crew members, and into a waiting car. The drive to the hospital was a silent, agonizing eternity. His mind was a maelstrom of fear and a crushing, debilitating guilt. The fans' whispers felt like a truth bomb detonating in his soul. Had he done this to Zhan? Had his own silent illness, his own personal war, cost the man he loved his health? He had promised to protect him, to be his strength, but in his own moment of weakness, he had apparently become Zhan's greatest threat. The hospital room was a stark white box, the only color a single lonely vase of lilies on the bedside table. Yibo was not allowed to go in at first. He stood outside, his heart hammering against his ribs, watching through a small glass pane. Zhan lay on the bed, his face pale and his breathing shallow. He was surrounded by doctors and nurses, their faces grim, their movements quick and precise. The sight was a living nightmare, a terrifying mirror image of his own recent past. He wanted to go in, to hold Zhan's hand, to tell him he was sorry, to promise he would make it right. But all he could do was stand there, a helpless, silent statue of remorse. After what felt like an eternity, the doctors finally let him in. He walked to the bed, his feet heavy with guilt, and sat down in a chair, his hand tentatively reaching for Zhan's. His skin was cold, his body a silent, terrifying line of pain. Yibo couldn't speak. He just sat there, holding Zhan's hand, the quiet beeping of the heart monitor the only sound. A doctor came in, a serious man with kind eyes, and looked at him. "He'll be okay," he said, his voice gentle. "We've stabilized him." What happened?" Yibo managed to ask, his voice a raw whisper. The doctor paused, his expression growing serious. "It's a complication from a past injury. A very old one." Yibo's mind went blank. Zhan had never told him about a past injury. The doctor continued, "When he was a teenager, he was in a serious car accident. The seatbelt caused some internal damage to his kidney, but it was minor and healed on its own. It's something that can lie dormant for decades. The intense schedule, the physical strain of his work, it caused a flare-up. He's been in excruciating pain, but he never told anyone. He's just been powering through it. The stress from your recent ordeal, it didn't cause this. It simply exacerbated a pre-existing condition." The words hit Yibo with a mind-blowing, brutal clarity. The fans' fears, his own crushing guilt, it was all a lie. This wasn't a tragedy of love causing harm. It was a story of a silent, private war Zhan had been fighting his entire life, a secret he had kept hidden, even from him. The realization was a complex mix of immense relief and a new, profound heartbreak. He had believed the worst of his partner, the one person he had promised to trust, and he had been so terribly wrong. He looked at Zhan's pale, serene face, and a fresh wave of tears stung his eyes. This was a truth they would now share, a new layer of their bond forged in the crucible of a devastating lie. He leaned down, his forehead touching Zhan's, and whispered a promise he would never break, I'll never let you fight a secret battle alone again. Ever. The world would find out the truth in a few days at a press conference that would be a masterclass in honesty. But in that sterile hospital room, a mind-blowing secret war had been fought and won, not with a public statement, but with a quiet, profound moment between two people who now understood that their love was not just their strength, but their sanctuary from the world's chaos. The raw truth of the matter hung in the air, a silent, painful admission. Zhan's gentle revelation that the affair was a fabrication and the texts were from his mother about a rare herb for his ailing grandfather, had shattered the public's illusion and Yibo's quiet doubt. The shame was palpable in the room, but it was quickly replaced by an immense, soul-deep relief. Yibo had almost failed the most important test of all. He had almost let a lie come between them. The two stood in the quiet of their apartment, the world's chaos a distant, buzzing noise, their bond rebuilt and made stronger by the harrowing trial. Now, they had to face the public. Their managers, who had been in a state of controlled panic, were given the truth and they knew it was an opportunity, not a liability. A press conference was scheduled for the next day, a decision made not for damage control, but for the purpose of complete, unvarnished honesty. The goal was to tell the full, human story behind the headlines. The day of the press conference felt like the calm before a storm. Yibo stood in the wings, watching as Zhan walked out onto the stage. He was not alone. By his side stood the actress from the scandal, a brave woman who had agreed to help him set the record straight. The media was a sea of flashing cameras and hushed whispers, and the tension was thick enough to cut. Zhan began to speak, his voice calm and clear as he addressed the wild rumors. He explained the truth behind the text messages, using simple, heartfelt language. He told them about his grandfather, a man he cherished, and about his rare illness. He told them how his mother had reached out to a family friend, a woman he was now co-starring with, who had a connection to the one place in the world where the necessary herb could be found. He didn't just deny the rumor. He gave them a story of love, family, and desperation. He then handed the microphone to the actress. Her voice, usually so vibrant and full of life, was now soft and respectful. I know my name has been dragged through the mud for the past few days. I know people have said terrible things. But I want to tell you all something. The truth is, I was simply helping a friend get something precious for a loved one. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Her words were raw, honest, and completely sincere. She then showed the press a photo on her phone of her elderly mother and Zhan's mother smiling together, a tangible proof of their family connection. The mind-blowing scene was not the revelation itself, but the public's reaction to it. The journalists who had been so quick to condemn were now humbled. The shame of their quick judgment was palpable. The Internet, a place of vicious speculation, now became a place of profound apology and admiration. The scandal was no longer a story of betrayal, but a story of quiet love, family, and compassion. The gossip had turned into a heartwarming legend. The public had been given a sensational headline, but what they had received was a beautiful truth, and they were forever changed by it. The diagnosis of Xiao Zhan's past kidney injury hit WangYibo with a mind-blowing, brutal clarity. The fans' fears, his own crushing guilt, it was all a lie. This wasn't a tragedy of love causing harm. It was a story of a silent, private war Zhan had been fighting his entire life, a secret he had kept hidden, even from him. The realization was a complex mix of immense relief and a new, profound heartbreak. He had believed the worst of his partner, the one person he had promised to trust, and he had been so terribly wrong. He looked at Zhan's pale, serene face, and a fresh wave of tears stung his eyes. This was a truth they would now share, a new layer of their bond forged in the crucible of a devastating lie. He leaned down, his forehead touching Zhan's, and whispered a promise he would never break. I'll never let you fight a secret battle alone again. Ever. The world would find out the truth in a few days at a press conference that would be a masterclass in honesty. But in that sterile hospital room, a mind-blowing secret war had been fought and won, not with a public statement, but with a quiet, profound moment between two people who now understood that their love was not just their strength, but their sanctuary from the world's chaos. The truth had set them free. The day after the press conference, the world had undergone a profound shift. The headlines no longer screamed about betrayal. They whispered in awe about truth, integrity, and a love that was stronger than any rumor. Yibo and Zhan, once trapped in a cycle of speculation and discretion, were now hailed as a new kind of power couple, a symbol of quiet strength and purpose. The scandal that was meant to destroy them had, in a mind-blowing turn of events, cemented their legacy. The impact on their careers was immediate and monumental. Companies that had dropped Yibo in a panic were now scrambling to re-sign him, but he and Zhan were no longer playing by the old rules. They had been tested and had chosen a higher path, and now they had the power to make demands. They began to turn down endorsement deals from brands that didn't align with their values and sought out projects that had a deeper, more meaningful message. The phone calls were relentless, not just from agents and producers, but from philanthropists and charities eager to partner with them. Their public image was no longer just about their looks or their talent, it was about their character. Their newfound freedom was a quiet, exhilarating kind of triumph. They could do something as simple as walk to a small, local cafe without the need for disguises or the fear of being seen. One crisp morning, they did just that. They sat by a sunlit window, sipping coffee and talking, their hands clasped together on the table for all the world to see. A young fan, who recognized them, approached with a nervous, tearful smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "Thank you for being brave. You've given me hope." It was a simple, heartfelt moment that was more meaningful than any award or public accolade they had ever received. They knew then that they had changed the narrative not just for themselves, but for countless others. They had shown the world that true power lies not in fame, but in purpose. Now, with a new kind of power and a new public purpose, what will they do next? Will they use their platform to focus on expanding their philanthropic efforts, or will they embark on a new collaborative project that uses their creative talents to tell a powerful story?